Welcome to the NBA Topic Show, powered by EE Analytics. I'm John Mettler. He's Adam Scherher. Yesterday, 2-0, or no, not 2-0, 1-1 with the picks. Jalen Brunson goes over just barely. Had the huge first quarter, but gets over the 29.5. Karl-Anthony Towns over 1.5 assists. So he had 3, which is a lot for Karl-Anthony Towns. Adam, yesterday, Tom Thibodeau, some more rotation magic. What is going on? What did you think of yesterday's game?
Yeah, I was really surprised that both of Wright and Shamet played in that one. I assumed that barring massive foul trouble to somebody, you were going to see one of them not play. So just surprised to see Thibodeau running deeper playoff rotations by design than he did in the regular season. So curious to see what happens with that next game.
Yeah, yesterday, as like a personal bet, I bet Bridges over 16.5 points. And I was like, okay, of all the guys, like with the minutes, it's like he probably has the most secure role. Like I assume he's one of the guys playing like 38 to like 42 minutes in that range. He's not like, Brunson and Cat have kind of been pulled for defense. Bridges has like a pretty secure role. In the first half, he has 9 minutes. There's like 3 minutes left in the half. He's on the bench. Like, what is going on? It's like, and then he played 34 minutes. And I'm like, can someone explain to Tom Thibodeau that like the regular season, you play your starters 34 minutes. And then once we get to this point in the playoffs, this is when you ramp them up to 40. I'm like, he had him playing 40 in games, against the Charlotte Hornets on a Tuesday. And now all of a sudden it's the Eastern Conference Finals. They're playing 34 minutes. So it just continues. He's like the one head coach. You kind of think you have like figured out for who's going to play what minutes. And he is all over the place right now. Producer Dell pointing out, he thinks the Knicks look tired. I kind of agree. I think the Pacers, with that pace and playing 10 guys deep, I think it was Stan Van Gundy pointed that out in game one. Because game one first half was like a huge over. And he was like, if this is the pace for the whole series, he's like, this is a problem for the Knicks. Like the Knicks cannot play at this pace the whole time because the Pacers are going to go 10 deep and the Knicks do not. So, and he's like, once you get to like game 5, 6, 7, they're really going to start to feel it. It kind of looked like they're starting to feel it yesterday. So I wonder if that's why he's playing those guys. We don't have to worry about Tom Thibodeau today because it's the Western Conference Finals, Game 5. Do you think, is it 1-2-3 Cancun for the Minnesota Timberwolves? Are they going to fight tonight? What's your expectation just overall for tonight?
Yeah, I think it's over.
Yeah, that's how I kind of feel too. I don't think at the benching of Julius Randle, I feel like kind of builds into that vibe. And I think if say you're the Knicks, you're against the Pacers, you probably feel like you could come back. You can take them out. We might be the better team. But when you're facing a team that's way better than you, and then you're down 3-1 and you're on the road, I don't know about that one. I don't know. I think it might be a tough game for the Wolves tonight. Let's get going into the picks here, though. We have 2 picks, and we're going to FanDuel for the first one. And we're looking at the assist market. This one did move, so there might be a better price somewhere else. But I'm just going Shai Gilgeous-Alexander under 7.5 assists, -122. We had -114 before we came on air here, so you might be able to find better price somewhere else. Once again, that's Shai Gilgeous-Alexander under 7.5 assists, -122. Adam, you want to break this one down?
Yeah, I think this is just expecting some regression in his ability to convert potential assists. So far in this series, through the first 4 games, 13 potential assists per game, 8.3 assists per game. So he's converting like 65% of his potential assists. In the regular season, that number was like 52%, somewhere in that range. So, obviously it's a matchup. It's a different matchup. Like you could expect the true number to be higher than his season average, but it's probably somewhere between the two. So I think it's just expecting some regression there. This assist number being a little bit high based on what we've seen so far in the series from SGA. So looks like a good bet on the under, even with it moving a little bit.
Brad's saying -116. I bet 365, so that'd be a slightly better price. Then we have here -122. I think you could kind of factor into like the blowout potential if it does get away from the Timberwolves here, because like obviously if you're the Thunder, you're looking ahead to NBA Finals, like in terms of getting our starters out of the game, or specifically like an SGA like that, to pull them out of the game, keep them healthy, because like we have more to play for than anyone else. At this point, I keep thinking about this. I just feel like it's an injury is the only reason the Thunder don't win the NBA Finals. If SGA does turn an ankle, that kind of makes it maybe a series against the Knicks or the Pacers. But if they're healthy, I think this is over. So that's probably like the one thing they're obviously very cautious of. and it is an 8.5-point spread. It was 9.5, just dropped down a point. So you're going Shea Gilgeous-Alexander under 7.5 assists, minus 122 there for the first bet. We'll move to the second bet. We're staying at FanDuel and going to the rebounds market, and you're going Anthony Edwards under 7.5 rebounds, minus 130. Adam, you want to break this one down?
Yeah, so I'll preface this one with, this is, I think, more of a kind of just, it projects well, it projects good. I have a difficult time like explaining it. I think if we had more than one game today, it wouldn't have made the list, but we don't have that many bets that look good today, even, just looking at projections. So the concern here is that Edwards' rebounding numbers have been up in the postseason and specifically in this series. And then also you are expecting him to play a ton of minutes. So we have him projected for 40.5 minutes, and it still looks good at that projection. So I'm rolling with it. But my concern is just that we have seen that rebounding rate, or rebounding opportunities rather, up in the postseason. And that's something that certainly could be by design, gets the ball in Ant's hands a little bit faster. So that would be my concern there. It's just that you have seen that up both in this series and in the postseason compared to the regular season, just how many opportunities he's getting. He's not actually converting at a higher rate than he was in the regular season. He's just getting more chances. But that being said, when you do just factor in the rates that you expect Anthony Edwards to rebound at, he does still project under 7.5 here. So it projects well. But I did just kind of want to throw in that extra nuance of like, I am nervous about this one just based on changes we've seen in the postseason.
Yeah, I think there's the same thing. I think there's also an assumption he would play a ton because it's an elimination game. But like, once again, if the game gets away from you and the series is over, I think it has to be in play for both players here, because you don't want like a Jason Tatum all of a sudden Achilles tear, because you just left him in the game. Then you're out the whole next season. Like, you're a team that can compete for the championship again next year. So I know it's like that assumption, like, hey, he could play 45 minutes, they're facing elimination, but they're also, like I said, they're an 8.5-point dog, and they got blown out both times in Oklahoma City. Do they wave the white flag early? Probably not, but like, you don't know, right? Like, at certain points, like, hey, we're down 3-1, we're losing 20 points in this game. Probably better just to be healthy going into next season, right? So I think it's all kind of in play here. I will ask you this, because Joe Osborne asked me this yesterday on Before You Bet. He was like, a lot of superstars catch a lot of heat when they lose in the playoffs. They don't advance and all this, or they have bad games. And he was like, how come Anthony Edwards doesn't seem to get the same criticism that, an SGA or Joel Embiid is like the laughing stock of like every meme for not getting to a conference finals? Do you think there's a reason why Anthony Edwards just kind of gets a free pass for losing some big games?
I think it's a couple things. I mean, in this case, obviously, huge dog against OKC. Like, you're not expecting him to actually go in there and have a chance to win. The other thing, though, I think like Edwards' personality too. Like, when you think, I was having this conversation on Twitter before the show about who I consider quote unquote superstars in the NBA, and I listed Ant, even though from a talent standpoint, he's not on my list, which like it's obviously subjective, but like he's not as good as the other players I named, but he just kind of like transcends because of his personality, because of how likable he is. And so I think there's that too. Like, you just view him a little bit differently because of his personality. But I think also it is the matchups, and he is taking some heat like for not shooting enough last game, even though that was the correct decision making. I think it's what he was being given by OKC, but he's taking some heat for that. But I think it's also just really a function of being a big dog here against the best team in the NBA. And also just kind of, he's his own kind of entity as like a person.
Yeah, true. I was saying to Joe, I was like, he is 23. He's younger than even some prospects coming into the NBA. And I was like, he did get to the conference finals. You're in the conference finals again, maybe a second like loss in the conference finals starts to raise the temperature on that conversation. But in terms of like last year, it was like seen as they went further than they should have by going to the conference finals. So it's not like he's kind of like flopped in the playoff. So once you, keep on.
He also, like, obviously he was the number 1 overall pick, but he kind of, even despite that, he wasn't super hyped, like, next big thing until he really started developing. And so I kind of feel like there's a narrative around him too, where not only is he super likable, super personable, but, and it's not the best way to phrase it, it's almost like he's like an underdog story, even though he's not. Like, he was the first overall pick, but it kind of feels that way, where it's like, oh wow, this guy's like actually reaching his ceiling. When he got drafted, he's kind of like a raw prospect where it's like, well, he's incredibly athletic. He could be really good. He probably will just be like a solid player. And then it's like, oh, wow, like we're seeing this guy actually exceed expectations. So I think it's kind of that narrative of like he's exceeding expectations while, not getting to the not getting to the finals.
Yeah, that makes sense because even the draft he came out in, it was seen as like a bad draft. Like it was like, oh, he's the first overall pick because, well, there's no one else. That was kind of like the narrative around that draft. And it was Cat's team, right? It was like, oh, he's a number one overall pick, but Cat's the best player. So he's kind of just starting to, I guess, to take that like superstar role type thing. So yeah, it's
Yeah. Like if you see Wemby when he's like 23, 24, not getting to the finals yet, like 3, 4, 5 years into the league, it's people are going to be like, wow, like, but it was Wemby. He's supposed to be, the best player ever. Like Edwards was kind of like, yeah, this guy's probably good.
Yeah. All right, the two bets for today, we got Shea Gilgeous-Alexander under 7.5 assists, -122 on FanDuel, but there's a -116 on 365. And then we're also going Anthony Edwards under 7.5 rebounds, -130 at FanDuel. This concludes the NBA Prop Pick Show powered by EV Analytics. We will be back tomorrow for Game 5 Eastern Conference Finals. Good luck with your bets. Del, play the song.